The internet is at it again, ladies and gentlemen, and they got their eyes set on Drewski. Drewski's getting accused of some very serious things. We're gonna go ahead and read this insane sentence that has to do with Drewski and part of the allegation, as well as read the reaction that Drewski had towards these allegations, as well as a video fully dedicated to all the allegations that are on Drewski's head right now. But let's go ahead and read this insane read. This is just an insane thing uh, that I read earlier today. It said instead of immediately graping plaintiff, defendant Drewski doused plaintiff with more oil lubricant and then jumped on top of plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of plaintiffs due to his enormous size. That's an insane freaking read. Drewski then put this out. He says the allegation is a fabricated lie. I wasn't a public figure in 2018. I was broke, living with my mom without any connection to the entertainment industry at this time. Um, at the time of this allegation. So the inclusion of my name is truly outlandish. My heart breaks for actual victims of abuse, but I'm fully confident that the evidence will expose this falsehood and the individuals who are maliciously trying to game the legal system to peddle false narratives. Um, yeah, I don't know. We're gonna go ahead and react to this video that has all the allegations for Drew. Really don't know what to believe. To be honest, that kind of read like a little PR uh paragraph that was put together by Drewski's team. But we're gonna go ahead and react to this, and then we're gonna go ahead and make a conclusion at the end of the video.
So Drewski has been an up-and-coming star for around the last 4 years. He was ushered into the internet game around the same time as his good friend Jack Harlow, and it was like as Jack was rising up the ranks of music, Drewski was rising up the ranks of comedy. During that time, he has become the most infamous skit comedian online, and this has obviously afforded him many opportunities, including his own show, countless sponsorships and commercials, features in movies, stake in Happy Dad alcoholic beverages, a feature on 2K, a comedy tour, and frequent collaborations with the biggest streamers and comedians in the world. Basically, this man became a cash cow, as Drewski has an insane ability to take everyday situations and types of people and turn them into a viral skit or a meme. And his comedy just has this way of reflecting and predicting in real life situations. But now Drewski has found himself wrapped up in the Diddy situation.
Oh man, oh man, this clip with him and Diddy is gonna be just clips all over the internet. There's gonna be so many people using this Diddy clip because now it hits different. It definitely is gonna hit different because of the allegations that are headed towards Drewski's way.
As he and his friend and popular wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. have been listed in some of these Diddy accusations. But the claims they are throwing around here are honestly so outlandish that it almost makes this hard to believe. Now, yesterday was when this bombshell would hit the timeline. In the matter of Ashley Parham versus Sean Diddy Combs, an amended complaint names 2 more plaintiffs and several additional defendants, including Odell Beckham Jr., Drewski, and a myriad of other people. So previously it was just Ashley Parham versus Sean Diddy Combs, and then a couple John Does that were not listed, and now those John Does, the main ones, have been listed as Drewski and Odell Beckham Jr. In total, Drewski's name is actually listed 45 different times in this lawsuit, but these are the key details that really make everyone think that this is pretty far-fetched. Defendant Diddy then instructed another defendant Doe to also violate plaintiff defendant Doe, who has been determined to be defendant Drewski, is what they're alleging. They say instead of immediately violating the plaintiff, defendant Drewski doused plaintiff with more oil and lubricant and then jumped on top of the plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide, and knocking the wind out of the plaintiff due to his enormous size. So there's
Enormous size is like a gross hyperbole, but pretty accurate at the same time. But that's just super disrespectful. Holy shit.
saying Drewski was in there slipping and sliding all around. Defendant Drewski then caught himself from sliding over the plaintiff's oiled body, and off the bed, he then began violating the plaintiff through her reproductive parts. While defendant Drewski was violating the plaintiff, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began pleasuring himself while recording plaintiff's violation by defendant Drewski.
My
Another
God.
party's phone fell on the bed near the plaintiff. The plaintiff then attempted to grab the phone, but it slipped out of her hands and onto the floor due to the oil/lubricant that had been doused all over her person by defendants Diddy and Drewski. Obviously, at this point, the baby oil is like infamous in this Diddy case. For those of you who don't remember, they claim that they
Oh, by the way, this is just a rumor. But apparently that baby oil is not actually baby oil, and it's just concentrated drug that's been put into baby oils to pretty much just have it there, to make it look like it's baby oil, but it's really not. Apparently, the the liquid that's inside some of these baby bottles or these baby oil bottles is actually a concentrated drug, and it's not actually baby oil. But that's just not, it's just an allegation. It could be true, could be not be true. We don't really know what's in the baby oil bottles yet, but all that is gonna come into fruition. All that's gonna be released very, very soon. That's what I think.
They discovered over 1,000 bottles of laced baby oil in Diddy's house.
And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs. More than 1,000 bottles altogether.
Defendant
Wow.
Diddy began laughing at plaintiff's attempt to grab the phone. Throughout this violent gang violation, defendant Diddy made constant belittling remarks to plaintiff, including that he owned her now. When defendant Drewski was finished violating the plaintiff, defendant KK entered the room to examine the condition of the plaintiff, who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. And they say this is when they attached her to an IV and pretty much brought her back to life, made sure she wasn't gonna die. And that was apparently when Diddy, Shane, who is apparently the man who introduced Diddy to this person, KK, Odell, and Drewski then exited the residence to the backyard where
No
they
way.
smoked marijuana and cigarettes. And so obviously this all had the internet going absolutely wild. Of course, people immediately started resurfacing.
The reason I say no way is because how can people like mentally do this kind of shit? This just seems like such vulgar like shit for anyone to be like okay with it going down. Like, I know I hear all the rumors out there with like the Hollywood industry being like this insane freaking place where just like the worst of the worst are just participating in like heinous acts, but if this is really going on, like, just insane. Like, this is really, really, really insane that shit like this is just normal to these people, bro. Like,
Surfacing old clips of Diddy hanging out with Drewski.
Don't mind if I do.
it,
They were basically saying that this clip hits different now.
Yeah.
As it was also rumored that Diddy had been lacing drinks at his infamous parties.
I wouldn't. Shot.
Drewski was also asked at one point
no.
what it was like to attend these Diddy parties.
You ever been to one of Diddy parties?
Yeah, I've been in attendance. I've been in attendance. Not, hey, what the fuck you smirking for?
I ain't saying that.
I ain't been in attendance.
We just asked a
That's
regular
all I
question.
said. That's all I said. I said I've been in attendance. I have been in attendance.
We never been. We just asking. We just
Yeah,
asking.
yeah. As soon as you asked, he said,
You had fun? I ain't seen that.
"Yeah, you did."
I ain't seen that.
Yeah, I had fun. Yeah, I mean, it was a party. I wasn't at one of them parties.
What parties?
one of them parties. That's an interesting way to word these things, bro.
I have been in attendance at a puff party. You know what I'm saying? I've been in attendance. Yeah, I went. Yeah, the party I went to, it was girls turn up. You know what I'm saying? The regular, you know what I mean? Other celebrities and shit. Yeah,
That's what you doing.
Now, obviously, Drewski does like to troll. Yes, his body language became a little bit uncomfortable, but you do have to keep in mind that thousands of different people have been to these Diddy parties, allegedly, and obviously, when they're all asked about it, they all say, well, you know, I went to...
You know what's insane to me is that like people are bringing up Drewski's bodies, but like what I've like came to realize is that there's celebrities like that have been attending Diddy parties since like forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's insane that they're mentioning Drewski's party, but what about all the other celebrities that have attended Diddy's parties throughout the years? Like, not just recently, but like throughout the years. Like, where are their names at, right? Because Drewski's like he's like a guy that's blown up within the last couple of years, you know, like maybe 1 or 2 years ago. But like, my understanding, Diddy's been throwing parties since like the early 2000s, the mid 2000s, you know, 2012, 22, you know, till now. Like, where are those names, right? Where are the names that were going to those parties back then? Like, why is it like people like Drewski, Odell Beckham, you know, like, I'm interested in knowing more, right? Or is that just a crazy theory? Is it a crazy theory? I don't think it is.
The Diddy party, but I didn't go to like the Diddy party, like the behind the doors party that was going on. So then I started questioning, well, what was Diddy's real relationship with Drewski? And as you guys can see here, back in 2021, Drewski did have this show called Sneaking In with Drewski, and upon further inspection, you can see that this was airing on Revolt, which was a media network that was primarily owned and founded by Sean Diddy Combs. And although he no longer owns any shares in the company, back in 2021, he was still running that shit, and he presumably gave that opportunity to his boy Drewski. I also thought that this little tidbit was interesting because Odell Beckham Jr. and Drewski have been friends for quite a few years now. Baltimore Ravens wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. struck up a friendship with Drewski upon finding his videos and invited the comedian to stay at his home during the COVID-19 pandemic. And obviously, the pandemic was back in early 2020, and that's where these dates really start not matching up, because the defendant is saying that this happened on March 23rd, 2018, way before Drewski was even remotely famous or known online, where the defendant says that this guy Shane invited the plaintiff over to his home to assist him with his cancer medications because he was weak and unable to open his medications. She says upon her arrival that this guy Shane wanted to give her a ride in his new car.
Well, if we're being real, I mean, just because Drewski wasn't famous, it doesn't mean like he didn't do it. I mean, I know that that's like a over exaggeration. It might be like, oh man, like you're tripping. Drewski wasn't even popping back then. He didn't even know any of those people. There's always that possibility that it could have gone down. You know, the likelihood of that happening is really low. You know, because Drewski probably had to blow up first before he was ever invited to these parties. But you know, on a technicality, it could have still gone down.
And she says this is when this guy Shane pretty much set her up for the violation that allegedly involved Diddy, Drewski, and OBJ. Now, much like with Jay-Z with his recent Diddy accusations, Drewski would respond swiftly to this filing, where he says the allegation is a fabricated lie. I wasn't a public figure in 2018. I was broke and living with my mom without any connections to the entertainment industry at the time of this allegation, so the inclusion of my name is truly outlandish. My heart breaks for actual victims of abuse, but I'm fully confident that the evidence will expose this falsehood and the individuals who are maliciously trying to game the legal system to peddle false narratives. So he kind of has the same stance that Jay-Z had back a couple months ago, saying this whole thing is a bunch of bullshit and the timeline isn't even really adding up. And of course, when something like this comes out, you're gonna have a lot of people running with the story, like this tweet that went viral where this girl says, I can't believe hashtag Odell Beckham Jr. and hashtag Drewski are in this new Diddy lawsuit taking turns violating this girl. Wow. You had other popular hip-hop and media pages saying Drewski did what? The same sentiment is shared here, ironically including this misinformation meme. Then you had people using Drewski's own skits against him, like this guy who says there's no way that this Drewski shit is real. Basically saying that that was Drewski's reaction to this information.
I mean, obviously, yeah, like, there's a possibility that this might be false at the end of the day, which is, if the things don't add up, they don't add up. The possibility of it happening are still there, but they're not as high because of the timeline. But in my honest opinion, man, I mean, who knows nowadays, right? Because like I said in the beginning of the video, the Hollywood industry, man, the people that are in the big leagues, who knows what they're into, right? Like, I feel like some of those people are just so out of touch with reality that they're just doing whatever the fuck they want. You know, you really don't know, right? All people could do right now is just pretty much give their own theories on what exactly is going on, but at the end of the day, nobody's really gonna know. Nobody's gonna know until this gets aired out completely.
Another user says Drewski after someone didn't give him consent. This guy specifically seems to really be leading the charge when it comes to these Drewski jokes about this very serious situation. He says Drewski's lawyer right now.
We got good and bad news. Good news, we got your payment, buddy. Bad news, gave you life. Sayonara.
So yeah, it's just crazy to see this guy's own skits and various statements being used against him at this point, even if it is a joke. These are the type of things that people try to get off online, and they do end up going viral. And it's really all just for a couple little Twitter shekels and a little bit of clout. Like, it's not worth making this type of weird, shitty joke, whether you believe he's guilty for some reason or not. Because
I
honestly,
disagree.
I think it's a whole bunch of nonsense. And it leads
If it's funny, it's funny. That's what I think.
To other people making more serious statements like this. Okay, so now that Drewski was named in the Diddy lawsuit for gang violation, this creepy skit he made in 2022 about guys getting girls drunk to have sex with them is aging so horribly.
All right, now, if you're not making a joke out of it, you're actually being real about it like this, I think that's like too much.
And it's like, does the person that posted this not understand that the entire point of this skit was to pretty much dog out guys that act like this? Like, the whole point of the skit is to say the guys who act like this are pieces of shit.
Yes.
Now, here is a clip from 4 months ago of this news network and of the lawyer representing this woman, Ashley Parham, in this case, and now these other two Jane Does, speaking on behalf of her client and the entire situation.
Well, her attorney says she was in her 30s at the time of this alleged violent attack. It happened just about half a mile away from the Orinda police station here in a quiet neighborhood about 6 years ago.
So yeah, 6 years ago, long before Drewski was known at all.
Ashley Parham says in 2018, Diddy and his entourage...
What if it wasn't Drewski? What if all that stuff that this lady is accusing Drewski of doing is true? It just wasn't Drewski. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe this story could legitimately be real. Like, just think about it for a second. It could probably be legitimately real. She's just getting the names wrong. And if she's getting the names wrong on a technicality, that could probably be used in court to get Diddy off. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But there is a possibility, because of what we know about Diddy, or the narrative behind what Diddy did, you know, that this could very well be true. It's just that the name Drewski isn't, you know, really relevant, because maybe it wasn't Drewski that did it. Maybe it was somebody who looked like Drewski, or somebody that sounded like Drewski. I mean, I don't know.
Violently gangbang style her in Orinda. Her attorney, Ariel Mitchell, says it all started when she met a man named Shane Pierce in a bar in Contra Costa County, who began a FaceTime call with Diddy.
She actually made a quip about Mr. Combs having something to do, that she didn't like him because he had something to do with Tupac's murder.
The lawsuit says Parham believed Pierce invited her over to set her up to be by Diddy. The Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office told us in a statement, a report was taken on March 23, 2018. We take these cases seriously, and detectives thoroughly investigated the accusations. It was later determined the claims were unfounded.
And that does make things a little bit more interesting for me, because obviously a legitimate report was made at that time, but even back then the police say, well, we found no wrongdoing. As a matter of fact, they're saying we don't believe this ever even happened.
She also reported the incident to Walnut Creek Police and Orinda Police without naming Diddy, as she felt she would not be believed. The woman who lives there confirms Pierce lived there, but that he was too sick with cancer and ALS to have done this. She also says Pierce did not know Diddy.
So they're saying this guy has not only cancer, but also ALS. Now, if I really want to get into my conspiracy bag, I want to note here that I think that this all could just be a mastermind smokescreen being set by Diddy and his legal team. It's like Pokemon, okay? The accuracy goes down once you set the smokescreen. Because recently, the case against Jay-Z...
That's what I think as well. I think that they're mixing a story up. They're mixing a story up, because how is it that, like I said, Diddy has been named, Jay-Z has been named, they've all been partying together for years. Drewski just came, you know, along a couple of years ago. His name gets suddenly randomly mentioned. You know, what about all the other celebrities that have been to these Diddy parties that their names aren't getting mentioned? Why is Drewski's name getting mentioned? That's just an insane... It's just an insane story to align with, you know, because it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. And the only explanation is that, yes, it is some sort of a smokescreen. This is a tactical story that's being fabricated.
He has been dropped without prejudice, which I believe means that they cannot, like, try to bring it back up in court. They cannot try Jay-Z again for the same thing. Obviously, there was a lot of holes in the timeline of that story. The accuser's own father said that he doesn't remember any of that taking place. And overall, the timeline and the series of events, especially when she came out on that news segment, just really were not adding up. And when the decision by the judge was made public and that entire thing was dismissed, Sean Combs' legal team would put out this statement. Today's complete dismissal by the 1-800 attorney is yet another confirmation that these lawsuits are built on falsehoods, not facts. For months, we have seen case after case filed by individuals hiding behind anonymity, pushed forward by an attorney more focused on media headlines than legal merit. Just like this claim, the others will fall apart because there is no truth to them. Sean Combs has never essayed or trafficked anyone, man or woman, adult or minor. No number of lawsuits, sensationalized allegations, or media theatrics will change that reality. We will continue to fight these baseless claims and hold those responsible for these false claims. This is just the first of many that will not hold up in the court of law. And that's why I have the feeling that this entire thing is a bit of a smokescreen. Because if you have enough of these outrageous allegations coming out, it allows you to kind of start poking holes and giving a little bit of reasonable doubt to accusations that could actually be legit. And it's like the more outlandish they get, like describing Drewski as using her as a slip and slide and then the timeline not adding up at all, it just hurts the case for people who are possibly actual victims of abuse at the hands of P. Diddy. And at this point, it's like Diddy seems so seemingly stuck in this corner that it's like that's all they can do to kind of like alter the public perception a little bit. And as these cases start getting knocked down and dismissed, it kind of starts the social programming and people start to think, well, maybe these other things aren't real either. And obviously on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have a whole bunch of people just bringing up false claims because they want a payday, they want a settlement. It's just the way they describe the entire series of events just seems a little bit too outlandish for me personally to believe. And I think that it could definitely hurt real victims in this case. Either way, I want to know what you guys think about these accusations down below. As always, also want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like and subscribing, but as you guys know,
So, in my honest opinion, I think that they dragged Drewski's name into this, and the timeline doesn't add up. I don't think that Drewski is honestly. I don't think that he did it. I honestly don't think that he did it. I think that this is just a tactical smokescreen, and I think that this is just an attempt of trying to get the people to change their opinions about Diddy. Whether or not that works is yet to be determined.